Long ago, along the banks of the Nile, across thousands of years, the rulers of Egypt were more than guardians of the land. They were makers of legends. They wrote history with blood. From the mighty south to the occupied north, a long struggle that could not be broken, a queen, a king, who carved victory with the blood of Egypt's enemies. Before we dive into the tale, today's dish is seasoned tomatoes, a simple Egyptian plate, served on tables since ancient times, with a flavor that carries the spirit of the land and its history. In the heart of Thebes, the southern capital, lived a family of heroes and kings, fiercely protective of their land as one would be of their own soul. Queen Ahotep was not a warmonger, nor a maker of kings. She was a steady support, a voice of balance, a pillar that did not waver. In a time when everything trembled, beside her stood King Sekenenri, a king who knew that dignity cannot be postponed. He began the fight, confronting the Hyksos directly. He battled to his last breath, and his mummy still bears the marks of deadly blows, proof of a brutal confrontation or a treacherous assassination. In the heart of the struggle, the king fell, yet Egypt did not break, and the queen remained unbowed. The eldest son, Kamos, raised his father's banner. He did not wait for the army to be complete, nor did he call a long council of war. Records tell that when he summoned the leaders for advice, he met hesitation. He refused to wait, for he knew that time was not Egypt's ally. He moved with an incomplete army, striking before the enemy could prepare, exposing the Hyksos' weaknesses, attacking their positions along the Nile, in what would later be known as the Battle of the Riverhead, documenting his boldness and forcing the Hyksos onto the defensive for the first time. He shook their foundation, proving that courage can be as mighty as numbers. Yet fate did not grant him time. He passed before the full victory could be claimed. Then, Queen Ahotep did not despair. She raised her youngest son, Amos, on love of his land and devotion to it. Before he ever held a sword, he grew up trained, strategic, patient, knowing that a battle cannot be won with a single strike. The Cold War, he began a silent war, a war of attrition, cutting supply lines, seizing trade routes, closing access points. The Hyksos tried to reach weapons and food, but Amos was always one step ahead. Their hunger and fear became their greatest enemy, and their first weapon for Amos, need exhausted them. Terror spread among their ranks, and their lines broke. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. Before the major battle, moving south, Amos liberated the small forts, one by one, securing Upper Egypt, stabilizing his rear, leaving no threat behind. Preparation for the decisive strike. Amos knew the Hyksos had brought war chariots to Egypt, but they had not used them well. He refined their use, integrated them with infantry, so the forces moved as one, striking, withdrawing, then returning. The great battle, the Nile. He used the Nile like never before, knew its course, controlled its channels, transported his soldiers through it, striking forts the enemy never expected to reach. Preemptive attacks, from water and land, from unpredictable directions, confused the Hyksos and stripped them of their advantage. It was one of the first preemptive wars against a foreign enemy, to liberate Egyptian land from invasion, to reclaim the land and defend the nation. The siege and the explosion. Amos laid siege to Avaris, the Hyksos capital. For several months, the siege intensified. Fear spread through the hearts of the enemy. Their lines faltered, until the moment of explosion. The ground shook beneath horses' hooves. Chariots advanced, colliding with enemy ranks. War cries rose. In a battle decided by will before weapons, the occupation fell, and the Hyksos were expelled from Egypt. The chase and the end. But the battle did not end with the Hyksos' flight. It was only the beginning of the end. Amos pursued them beyond the borders, besieged them in Sharuan for 3 full years, until he ensured their absolute defeat, preventing any comeback or thought of return. A final victory, irrevocable, and the land was united once more. marking the dawn of the new kingdom. Around 1525 BCE, Egypt was not reclaimed by swords alone, but by the resolve of a queen, the blood of a king, and the strategy of a commander who forged victory, step by step. The voices of the hippopotamuses still rose as they always had, and their story remains alive, in stone, in the Nile, and in every corner of a land that never forgets its heroes. And that was today's story. But Egypt still holds many untold tales. If there's a story or an old recipe you've always wondered about, tell us in the comments, and it may become our next story.